Hi there. So it's kind of funny. I think 76 people or 100 people are registered for this, but only 3 or 4 of you found the link to register for today's live session. But it's a Saturday, so I totally understand. And the SavvyCon didn't start till Friday. And I think I am the only person that does video. I think everyone else just does text-based. So hi, everyone. I hope you're having a fabulous Saturday. I ran downstairs. I was late so I could get tea, and I literally just knocked it off my desk. But that's okay, because at least it did not knock over onto my keyboard or my laptop, which I have done before and had to buy an entirely new computer. So anyways, all right. So there is underneath me, you should see a green button and it says workbooks. So, and if you, oh, thanks, Amy, beautiful design. If you would like to learn how to make workbooks, that's actually something I teach as my side business. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And great question, Amy. Yes, you could. I mean, in theory, everybody is plan B. So the reason I say plan A and plan B, and we'll get into this, is because I think when you say, I would like to be a full-time author, in theory, you would like to be somebody who makes 100% of your revenue from your books and enough to cover your rent, buy a new Mercedes, go on vacations, right? That's kind of the dream. But if not, by default, and I really don't think there's anything wrong with this, some of us just slide into plan B, or maybe because I personally don't want to do rapid release and it takes the joy out of writing for me. And I actually love doing, as you can tell, I love video, I love my YouTube channel, I love all the other things that go with creating an online business. So for me, it is option B is ideal for my preferences, my lifestyle, and basically just who I am. So anyway, so let's jump in. I have slides for you. Oh, Amy, you were here 3 hours before. Yeah, I'm in California. I do miss the East Coast, though. I miss being on New York time. And then this is weird for TV. I do miss being in Central time zone in Chicago. I don't know why. It just feels more natural if prime time starts at 7 o'clock instead of 8. It's almost too late. But I am kind of dorky. I go to bed at 8:30 or 9. So that's why an 8 o'clock start time for prime time feels really late for me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my slides with you. So it will make me really small on the screen and it will hopefully make the slides very big. So here we go. All right, so hopefully you can see my slides right now. Let me just make this a little smaller. All right. Okay, I know it looks a little weird because the slides aren't full screen. That's just kind of how Crowdcast works. All right, so I think everyone's downloaded the workbook. Second thing is the agenda. So we'll just talk about who am I, upcoming related videos. I mentioned this in the welcome from yesterday that I think you might be interested in. The differences between option A and B. And then the option A game plan, as well as we'll start talking about the option B game plan, what that looks like. And also, because I specialize in option B, if you would like to if you're really serious about this and you want to quit your job, you want to make 6 figures just working for yourself, then I can help you do that. So I can give you guidance for option A, but for sure, because I don't do rapid release, I would never teach that. I'm much better with option B. So we'll go into that. So just jumping in, who am I? So I have 4 different names. My real name is Lisa Seifert. So my pen names aren't something I hide to protect my family or anything like that. I'm single with no kids. So I just really chose my pen names for branding purposes. So Lisa London, I liked alliteration. And I actually had a video on my Lisa Latte YouTube channel recently where I just explained my pen names and how I chose them. And so that's associated with romance. And then Lisa Latte is a name that's associated with cozy mysteries. I have not written one yet, but that's the plan going forward. So these are my different in brands. And then I guess if you wanted to stay connected, I always tell people this, I'm on Instagram like 24/7. Okay, maybe not 24/7, but I post there quite a bit. Like I probably post 10 or 12 stories a day. So if you want to stay connected or see what's going on or what I'm doing or learn more about the Cozy Escape Club, book club, definitely follow me at Lisa Latte Books. And these are just some of my Insta stories. So I just share random stuff like my apartment or a little stand. I did a 10-day challenge for, it was Gala Darling. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She has this course called Radical Rituals. And in theory, after the end of 10 days, you know, you should just be gangbusters with money. And it actually did not work out that way for me. I don't think I have money blocks. I think it's for people maybe more that have money blocks, or maybe I didn't believe enough. I'm not really sure, but I bought some crystals and some stones and stuff because that was part of the 10-day challenge. Anyway, so I kind of share all these things that I do as I go along. Also, we do word count accountability. And I just share little quotes in what I'm doing and hanging out. And I mostly, because I am a full-time creative entrepreneur, I'm mostly just kind of hanging out with my friends, and we kind of share what we're doing and what we're working on too, in case you're just wondering what that kind of looks like if you were to start doing that. All right, so let's go into upcoming related videos. So this was meant to be, I don't know if you guys were here last year. So I did this last year as well, and not this particular subject. I did a different subject, but Savvy Authors had created SavvyCon last year, and I can't even remember the format, but a lot of the feedback was just that it was too much information and people weren't able to really do anything actionable from it because it was information overload. So today has been a focus on just author business plans and nothing else. However, I strongly believe that if you are someone who is thinking about working for themselves, whether it is as just books are your only product, or if you would like to create a side business, whether it's services or products or a combination thereof, I think there are different things that you would want to think through. So one video is already up. This went up last week on Monday and is Girl Boss Income Ideas. So this is all on the Lisa Latte channel. So it is definitely this Lisa Latte. If you just Google search inside of YouTube for Lisa Latte, you'll find it in 2 seconds. And I think I left a link too inside of the course, but I have 10 different ideas that are tangentially related to the business, the book business, right? So they're cover designers that make a lot of money. So do developmental editors, so do copy editors, so do people who are able to run Facebook ads for other authors. So I try to think of things where you could at least be learning within the book industry and providing a valuable skill to other authors, and also it would provide a really great networking opportunity for you as well. So there's also, the video was 10 ideas. There is a free download. I would strongly advise you to do it. Same as today. It's like a checklist, all 10 ideas, little synopsis for each. And I have a bonus 11th author business income idea inside of just the download by itself. Tomorrow, I have a video on should you quit your job to write? Because I think you need to think through a lot of different things. And honestly, as I did HR in my corporate day job, and I think there are a lot of things that people are surprised by when they quit, including, COBRA and unemployment insurance, their bonuses, certain tax implications from their start date. So I go through all of that as well, just because I happen to have that knowledge. And I've seen so many people get surprised by that because HR can be kind of tricky. And honestly, the thing is, HR is not your friend. Like, if anything you take away from the video tomorrow is that HR is not like a college counselor. Like, I think that's the problem. People think we're like career counselors. We are not. We are part of management. And, as such, talking to HR is just like talking to your boss or talking to your boss's boss. So there are a lot of things that HR will not share with you because they just simply cannot, or because they're not your friend. They're not there to add extra advice. So hopefully this video tomorrow gives you all that extra advice that I think that you were looking for when you are thinking about talking to your HR representative about whether or not you could quit your job and what that really means. On Wednesday, I'm super excited. Molly Fitz is Melissa's pen name, and Melissa Storm is her romance pen name. I don't think a lot of people know this. Melissa has 6 different businesses. So when you talk about billionaires, right, there is the famous statistic that they all have 7 to 10 different lines of income. So they have 7 to 10 different businesses that they're running that all contribute to making them a $1 billion empire. And Melissa has 6 businesses that she runs, plus she writes. And when I say she writes full time, even if she didn't have her other businesses, she could still make a living on her books alone. And she recently became hybrid. So before that, she was, I believe, just self-published. So I shouldn't say just self-published, but she was only self-published. And so now she has done hybrids just because she met some other publishers. They asked if she would publish for them. So it's a really good position to be in because not only, we were talking about this, I think she said the biggest thing is that the publishers are excited to work with her, not just because she's a really great writer, but because she's a really great marketer as well. And that's really the crux of all of her other businesses that she does. So, you know, when publishing companies want to like take a chance on somebody, you don't really have to worry about taking too much of a chance on someone who's kind of a marketing genius and helps other people hit the bestseller list. So that I think alone is like the #1 reason just to watch the video on Wednesday. And it's a really long interview and she is super generous with her time and information. So I think you're going to learn a lot of new things just from watching that alone. All right, health care. I think this is a big one because I don't know anybody's situation, whether you are healthy or maybe you have other underlying conditions that require where you cannot be without health insurance, not even for a second. Or maybe you have people who are dependents, like your children or your spouse underneath you, and they rely on your healthcare insurance. So I went through all of the different options for when you are not able to get healthcare through an employer and how you could get that instead. So, you know, these are just a few of the videos. I won't go through all of them. I have a lot of those videos. That's pretty much all September is dedicated to, is simply author girl boss type of concerns or information that might be useful to you in thinking through whether or not you want to work for yourself. All right. Let's talk about the material that we came here for today. So option A versus B. So A is really, you know, I always use the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your revenue is going to come from books. Of course, you're going to do affiliate sales, or maybe you are going to sell t-shirts or something else or merchandise related to your book. But for the most part, your revenue is coming from your books. Those are your products. Option B is that your business is where 80% of your revenue comes from. And whether you are, again, you have a brick and mortar, you are selling wedding invitations, or you are a wedding planner or something else, or maybe you have decided to do something related to the book industry and you are running, you're a virtual assistant or a social media manager for another author, that is option B. And I just want to emphasize there's nothing wrong with choosing one or the other. And you could, just like who asked the question, just like Amy asked, you could be successful at both. Because if you watch the interview on Wednesday, Melissa is successful at both. So successful that not only did her husband quit his job to come work for her, so did her brother. So, you know, I think that thinking that it has to be one or the other is not really the right frame of mind. But I think what you should be doing is thinking, I should start focusing on one and then maybe hybrid into the other. Because I think trying to focus and say, I'm going to do option A and I'm going to rock option B is going to set you up for failure. And there's nothing wrong with building up B and then saying, you know what, I want to switch things and I really want to build up A, or vice versa. So, but I do believe that trying to do both at the same time is a recipe for disaster. So that's why I said, which one are you, option A or option B? I think you should pick at least one. So let's just talk about some numbers. So option A, if you are just going to do books are your business, and you need, just like anybody else who sells something in a store or a restaurant or anything else, if you only had one item to sell, you're probably not going to do a lot of sales. You're not going to have a lot of repeat customers. So you need to churn out some more inventory. You need to do more production. If you are wondering, I think the hardest part is people are wondering, how much will I make? And I feel like people do sometimes what we call in HR and recruiting, when we have a new job opening, we do what's called post and pray. We post the job up and we just pray that candidates will find it and start applying. That's one strategy. And I think, putting your book up and saying it didn't make any money because you just stuck it up for sale is not a real indication of whether or not you can be successful as a full-time author under option A. And the reason I say that is because everybody else, no matter if it's authors or if it is somebody selling, marketing services, someone who is a business coach, they're all marketing. They're doing paid ads. And I will use these two examples that I have right here, because if you don't have past book sales, you can't predict future book sales. So if you look at the book on the left, we spent $20,000 in expenses, right? So all of the covers for the trilogy, I think Alana spent $6,000 for the covers. We spent another $1,000 for editing. We spent all of the rest of the $20,000 on Facebook ads. So that book then did make a profit, but only because we put $20,000 into that book. So I could say, yes, I could release a new book every month and it will make, let's say it makes $10,000 a month, but that's only because I put $20,000 into the advertising for each book. So that is, $10,000 a month. You're still going to make a six figures. That's $120,000 for the year after all the expenses. But you have to have that what is that? I'm so bad at math. You have to have the $90,000 to invest to make the $120,000 in revenue, right? Did I say that right? I'm really bad at math on the fly. I said that wrong because 10,000 is the net income. So 20,000 times 12 is 20,000 times 12 is 240,000. Is that right? I am just going to get out a calculator instead of trying to put this through. So $20,000 per book times 12 books. Let's say I can do one book a month. Yeah, that's almost $250,000. So I need $240,000 in ad spend. So I don't know if you have this on your credit card, or if you have access to that much cash, or you have access to past book sales that you can use that to reinvest. Obviously, you don't have to do it in one lump sum. You do it per book. And then from there, that's where we got the 30,000 that you're making times 12. So in theory, you're making 360,000 a year. It sounds like a lot of money, but remember, we had to subtract the 240,000 for Facebook ads. So then you're only making 120,000. And obviously there's variations inside of there, and you do have some residual sales. And obviously, like a series, just pushing out one book, like book number 3 or book number 4 in a series, does help increase the sales for the other books. But again, I don't know this because this is my first book. So I'm just going off of that one data point. As you get more books, as you get more sales, as you do more Facebook ads, you're going to have more data points to make a better prediction off your future book sales going forward. Now, if you've never ever, if you're not familiar with book calculators, I'm going to give you a little link here. I'm going to put it here at the bottom. This is a really good Amazon book sales calculator. So I'm just going to show you really quick how it works. Okay, so the second book, we're going to look at the second book. So the second book I had was The Temptation of Cinderella. This was a prequel to Snow. So in theory, it was related to the other series that was already making a lot of money. but again, only making a lot of money because I had spent so much on Facebook ads, or we had spent so much on Facebook ads. So over here, this book, Cinderella, is ranked way lower. So overall, for all book ranks for ebook sales, it was ranked at 50,000. At 50,000, I was making 76 sales per month, and that means like 5 sales per day. So that is, and again, I will pull out a calculator. That book is listed at $3.99, which means I get 70% from Amazon. So that equals $212 a month. So this book makes considerably less than the other book because I didn't run Facebook ads. So this is, again, in theory, if your reader list is large and you have a lot of people on it, when you send out an email saying, I have a new release, they'll go buy it. However, and I didn't put the cover inside of here, so let me just show you the cover. However, when Snow 2 came out, we did not run any Facebook ads on this book. Part of the problem was we meant to do rapid release, but due to some other obligations that Alana had, we did not get the second book out for another year. So we just said, let's not bother with Facebook ads. Let's just put the book out and we'll wait till book 3 is out to really do a big push. And so even with our huge lists that we had built up over the last year. So when we first launched this, I think the list, I don't want to say, I think she said her list is 24,000 or 30,000 or something. My list is smaller. It is only 6,000. So even between that, sending out an email to 30, 40,000 people, we still only made about $200 to $300 on the book because we hadn't run paid Facebook ads. So I can't emphasize this to enough, that paid ads, and I know people are trying to say, I don't want to spend a dime on the book. You know, I spent so much on the cover and I spent so much on the developmental editing. I think it should just do well on its own. I mean, maybe, but my experience and everything that I've learned from talking with other authors and just chit chat and on various forums is that everybody is running ads if you want to make this a business. So there are so many books out there. So the difference is, so for my other business, we'll talk about that in a minute, I don't run any ads. And the difference is a program, to enroll in a program for my side business is $1,000. To enroll in or to purchase a product from me as an author, it's $3.99. So there's a huge difference in the price point between those two products. I don't have to do a lot of push for the $1,000 product, nor do I really have to sell it to thousands and thousands of people in order to make money, versus the book, which is $3.99, or sometimes I know some people come out with a 99-cent book and then you're only getting 30% from Amazon or any of the, even if you go wide, you have to, it's a quantity game. So you know, I know some people may disagree with me, and that's great. Honestly, I would love to know how you're able to make $10,000 a month from a book without doing any paid ads, but I haven't seen that. So if you're going to do option A, you have to have some sort of budget for paid ads. You also need to know production time. So you need to know, like I know for myself, it takes me 3 months to write a book at least. And so it takes me a month to think through it, outline it. It takes me another month to draft it, and it takes me a third month to revise it. And this is all assuming that my developmental editor reads my draft in like a day and then gets back to me, and then I can start working on revisions right away, which obviously does not happen. Now, other people write really fast and they're way more experienced. And I think, you know, your talent and your craft help you to write faster. I know that I am just not that type of a fast writer. So I can read all the books on rapid release I want, but putting it in practice is not something, one, that is feasible for me right now, nor something that I really enjoy. I think it would take the joy out of writing away from me, and then I would no longer be interested in that. However, you may be different, especially if a lot of you, when I polled everybody on Savvy, half of you said you wanted to do option A, half of you said you wanted to do option B. So I think a lot of you are still into the rapid release, and rapid release really means that you're able to put a book out in 2 to 3 weeks. So you'll notice that the indie books are typically shorter, maybe 20 to 30,000 words, versus the traditionally published books, which are usually 75 to 80,000 unless it's a novella. So this is why indies, in theory, can make more money because they're able to churn out more products and more quickly. And you also need to know, in addition to your production time, so that you can make a schedule for the next year of what books are coming out and how much each one's going to make, you need to know your budget. So how much are you going to do on ad spend? So let's say I knew that I spent 0 on ad spends for The Temptation of Cinderella. So if I was doing a future book schedule, I would say, you know what, I'm going to put out a new book every month. So 12 books a month. That means my revenue from books, I can estimate at 200 to 250 per month, because I'm not going to do any ad spends, but at least I know that I can put out 1 book a month. So that's just one of my line items under option B plan. If instead I did the other option where I said, you know, I can't spend 20,000 a month on Facebook ads and churn out 1 book a month, then I know that I can make 120,000, because each book is probably going to make around $10,000. So that is how you do your author business plan for option A. There's obviously a lot of other details that go in there, like swaps and everything else. But again, that's going to take up some of your time, and that's more of the marketing plan to me versus your business plan on how you're going to basically just run yourself. You're the employee. And just like you can't outsource push-ups, you are not really able to outsource the writing unless you want to get a ghostwriter. And I think with all of the drama that's happened in the last year with the ghostwriters, I think people are kind of shying away from that. And honestly, I think it's kind of hard because of self-publishing to find a good ghostwriter. I think in the past, when self-publishing wasn't really a thing, I think ghostwriters were much easier to find because they had nowhere else to really go to get their words out on paper or to make money for themselves. So just something to think about. All right, moving on. Let's go on to option B. So option B, so I put a couple logos down here because I want you to know that I failed at least, 5 or 6 times when I was trying to do this option B plan. I just knew that I wanted to work for myself. I knew that I loved the online space and it was something that I wanted to get into. And there were so many different things that I was interested in. So the first logo up here, the dating coach, did not work out. That just was not something, it sounded really fun, but when I got into it, it just didn't work out. It's kind of like trying different things out. I don't know if you guys know this. Before I went into corporate America and did HR, I took a brief stint and I went to medical school as an adult at like 29 for a year because I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I did not. So I quit medical school. So, don't feel like just because you invest a lot of time, money, and energy, which obviously medical school is, doesn't mean you can't turn back. If things just don't resonate with you, honestly, you're probably not going to be very happy. You're not going to be very successful. And I think people are going to be able to see that because the online business world is very much showing you as a personal brand more so than probably anything else that you would ever do. Now, the only exception to that is probably if you sell products. So you may not even have to show your face, especially if you're not into video or, photography or anything else. You could just have a beautiful planner, let's say, and not sell it as yourself and just say, this is my planner, and just buy it because you like the planner and how it functions and the fact that it has rose gold coils or something. So that's another option. This over here, the Beginner's Guide to Fitness Walking, another failed business. So I used to teach aerobics and was a personal trainer for many years in college just because it was an easy job to get and it paid a little more than working in the school cafeteria. And I just kept teaching fitness classes, even when I had a corporate day job, just because it was easy cash and you were able to get a free health club membership. So I really liked it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make that my career. I'm just going to do that as a job. And so I decided I was going to, after the dating coach thing didn't work, I said, you know what, I'm going to be a fitness coach, an online fitness coach. And that did not work out for me at all. So, for many different reasons. I think, I just wasn't up to the challenge of competing with so many different people. And, the MLMs were, and they still are, really dominate that sort of industry and that niche. So that didn't work out. However, don't worry, we'll end with a success story. Pretty Fabulous Designs did work out. So I actually never decided like I wanted to teach people how to use Adobe InDesign. What happened is, just like that workbook that you downloaded, I made a bunch of freebies in order to do list building for the dating coach and for the fitness thing. And I found that Adobe InDesign was a software program that was actually pretty difficult to use, but it was able to make prettier workbooks than anybody else's workbooks. And so I started using that. And so then people asked me to make workbooks for them. So I did. And then pretty soon people asked me to make websites for them. And so I did, and et cetera, et cetera. And then finally I found that, I really like planners. Why don't I start designing planners? And I started designing different planners for different people. And then I said, I would really like to help a lot of people with this. And it seems like there's a need. And that's kind of how Pretty Fabulous Designs was created. And that's the business I have now that helps me to make 6 figures a year. And that's the business that allows me to flex my time so that I can sort of turn that business on and off, let it kind of run on autopilot. I'm sure you guys have heard of passive income, and just let it do its sales funnel thing. And then I can write in the meantime. So if that is something you would like to do, we can talk about that more. But how can you choose your one thing? I think it really needs to be 3 important factors. One, I don't think you need to worry about whether or not you have the skill, because I had no idea, like 0 idea on how to use Adobe InDesign prior to starting Pretty Fabulous. So I think that it has to be something that you are either interested in learning or are good at. The second thing is, I think it has to fit with your lifestyle. So for me, I don't really do a lot of one-on-one coaching. That would be more of someone who is interested in being a business coach. I know a lot of people, when I polled them on what they were interested in, said they wanted to be virtual assistants. They wanted to be writing coaches for accountability. So other people like that one-on-one relationship, and that is not me. I like the one-to-many relationship. Just like in fitness, I love teaching group classes more than I did the one-on-one personal training. And it's the same thing here on the online space. I love teaching these classes, but I don't necessarily enjoy the one-on-one work. And that's just my personality. And so I think, you need to think through, what fits with your lifestyle, because I don't like having, I have friends and sometimes we can't get together because they have client calls sprinkled throughout the day. And, they love that. And they're trying to be there for their client. And if their client can meet in the morning, they're available for them. Or if their client can meet in the late evening, they're available for them. Versus I can kind of schedule things like today, and it's really based on my schedule, and then you guys can watch the replay afterwards. And for me, that works out better with my lifestyle. The third thing too is I think it needs to be something that you really feel like you really believe in. And I've seen a lot of people, especially with the MLMs, trying to sell things, because I do create brochures and freebies still for people, for MLMs that don't really believe in the product, but they heard from someone they can make a lot of money. And so they're like, I'm just going to do this because, Susie next door made, $50,000 in a month. So obviously there's just tons of money. Maybe there's tons of money, but I can tell you, unless you're really excited about it and you truly believe in it, people are going to see right through that. So I would try to pick something, again, we'll reiterate that. One, something that you are either good at or at least interested in learning, something that fits in with your lifestyle and your personality. And third, most importantly, something that you truly believe in and you're really excited to share with other people. So that's kind of how you choose that one thing. And just like I said, you needed to choose plan A, option A, or option B. I do believe the reason that these 2 businesses, and honestly, there were a few more others that failed, is because I took a shotgun approach and I said, I'm going to just try a bunch of different businesses and I'm going to try to run them all at the same time. And so none of them really did that well, as you probably can guess. It's just like, I know some people can switch hit between writing 5 different books at once. But honestly, I think the most successful people are ones that just focus on one at a time. So that's why I'm saying just choose one thing to start out with. And it doesn't mean like if you do something, you can't do something else later. You can't like never become a dating coach if you decide to be a fitness coach. You could. The rule of thumb for people who have multiple businesses is build one and get it running well first, and then move on to the second business and get that up and running well, and then move on to the third, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's really when you start talking about outsourcing and building a staff and having that empire, right? So like Melissa, I think when we talked to her, on Wednesday, you'll hear, I think she has like 19 or something people working for her because she knows she can't run all of those businesses by herself. All right. Whoops. Not done with this. So research the market too. So whatever you want to do. So if you want to be, let's take something easy, a virtual assistant for authors, right? You need to research that market and see who else is offering virtual assistant services to authors. What kind of packages are they putting together? Are they available 24/7 to them? Or are they just they're answering their email inbox? Are they writing their newsletters? Are they handling their social media? Do you need to learn how to do graphic design so that you can do social media posts for them? Do you need access to Canva or Photoshop or other things, tools like that in order to create a good business? Also, when you research the market, look at who's really killing it. Like, you don't just ask, you're an author. If you're doing research for a virtual assistant, just ask people who's a really great virtual assistant. Who has a virtual assistant that they love? Who fired a virtual assistant they couldn't stand, right? Like, what are they doing incorrectly as well? I think all of this information, I mentioned some others in the workbook, those are really going to help give you an indication of what's going on in that market right now, and also how you can help yourself stand out. And so that brings us to the third point, which is, have you solved a pain point? So there's a lot of different things you can do within the author book business. And the reason I had the 10 income ideas is because I think all of these solve a pain point. Not everything solves a pain point. So, I would love to have cupcakes more often delivered to me. I wish there was a Cinnabon down the street. I would love to have fresh flowers on my desk, right? These are just nice to have, even though these are services that are offered versus something people absolutely need, right? So I feel like something people absolutely need is a cover designer. So yeah, they could take a course on how to learn Photoshop, how to do their own photo shoots, how to go out and research and find different models to put on the covers. But is that really the best use of their time? Probably not, because they want to write books. So this helps them to solve a pain point because maybe they don't want the same cover as everybody else. They need to have a good cover designer. They need someone who's responsive, right? So the cover design is like solving an immediate pain point, and it's something people need versus something nice to have. So something nice to have might be for an author is, I don't even know, maybe you're going to do, here's a good one. Time management. So I kind of laugh all the time. I see people teaching all these time management courses, and not that they're not useful, but they're kind of like a nice to have. Like, yeah, I would love to take a course on how to be more efficient, but that's not my pain point right now. Because I am so inefficient, maybe I need to have a virtual assistant before I take a big course on time management. Or maybe I need to have a developmental editor go through my book for me first before I take a course on how to, lay out my book and learn how to revise and edit it. So, things that are done for you type of services like the virtual assistant and the cover designer, I found have been much more lucrative and profitable and easy to get off the ground than courses that you're trying to teach somebody how to do something, because it doesn't really solve an immediate pain point as much as someone who can just give you a done for you service. So that is my advice for that. So just running through really quick, if you are interested in, again, this was just supposed to be a mini intensive. If you are interested in having a full-blown author girl boss plan, I have 2 different things coming up. So I have 2 workbooks, which will be included within the Author Girl Boss Academy. So here's how it works. it's a 6-week course because I think 6 weeks is a good amount of time for you to really get focused and get up and running, like a month and a half. In week 1, we'll just choose your niche, right? So, what do you want your business to be? Are you a service? Are you a product-based business? Are you doing done-for-you services? Are you making pre-made templates, whether that is social media or it is book covers? So we'll really figure out where your sweet spot is in terms of, your personality, your lifestyle, what you're good at, what you want to learn. So we'll put together a plan for you during week 1. Week 2, we'll actually define your ideal client. So who needs you most? And I'm not really a big fan of client avatars, but I do believe you need to have some sort of idea on what those pain points are. So when you go to write your copy later for your sales page, you know how to appeal to that customer that you're trying to reach and that you would like to give you money. Week 3, we'll talk about how to make a website that converts. So I see a lot of this where people just want a pretty website, especially authors with their books. But at the end of the day, you can have a pretty website that converts. When I say converts, that means when people visit your website, you should be collecting their email address. You should be getting them to click on an affiliate link. You should be getting them to subscribe to your YouTube channel or to like you on Facebook or something else. That's what I mean by conversion. So when people come to visit, getting page views is great, especially if you're a blogger and you're getting paid by Google Ads for page views. But more than likely, because that's probably 10 cents a week, you're trying to make money from an actual course or from your services. You'd like to get some paying clients. So you can't get those if you don't have a website that converts. So we'll talk about that on week 3. So week 4, we'll talk about list building. So list building is something I'm actually excellent at. I have 0 problems ever building a list. And I think the reason why is because I do make those beautiful digital downloads. And I also just kind of know what the freebies are that people want. It's something easily digestible. It's something that is going to provide immediate use right away. And it's also something that's going to tee you up as the expert in whatever that is. Like if you're a virtual assistant, if you're doing paid Facebook ads, if you're a cover designer, right? All of those different things, there's little steps to get your customer ready and sort of prep them for the sale that you are about to present to them. So we'll talk all about that as well as all the tech behind that. So even the websites, I will show you how to make a WordPress website yourself. In week 4, I will tell you how to set up all of your email autoresponders, how to create your mailing list, how to collect emails, how to set up those downloads. I know it's the little things too that I think sometimes, I know when I was starting an online business, that just kind of held me back. And then in week 5, we'll talk about financial planning. So I think this is really important. I don't know if anyone knows this. I actually paid off $190,000 in debt. So after I left medical school and leading up to that, I was kind of I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Well, I knew when I was 26 or 27, I wanted to be a doctor. And so I was like, it doesn't matter how much it costs to go back to school because all of my, orgo and organic chemistry, biology, physics, all of those things had expired. So I had to go back and take all of those courses and take the MCAT and then apply to medical school. Each school application, I think, was $250 or $300. So it wasn't cheap. And I just threw it all on my credit card. And then when I got to med school, I just threw on some more student loans, right? So by the time I was done and I had quit medical school, I was $190,000 in debt. I was 100% debt-free when I started my business, and I still am today. So I don't believe anymore, like I did for med school, that you have to go into debt to start something. There are other ways to finance what you want in your business and barter services with other people. So we'll talk about all of that, and we'll talk about a light, medium, and high plan. So depending on, I think the only loans you should ever take out are are family loans, right? Like your spouse, your parents, something else like that, versus like a bank where you're going to owe a lot of money, or even worse, a credit card. So we'll talk about all of that in week 5, as well as all of the bookkeeping on the back end and how to set that up and what is and is not expensible. And then in week 6, We'll put it all together and I'll tell you what to do next. So I think sometimes at the end of these programs, people are kind of like deer in the headlights and nothing happens. So we're going to talk more about how to keep your business going, how to sustain new clients, also how to look at your metrics and know if you're doing great or if you're not doing so great. So all of that together is the Author Girl Boss Academy. If you go to authorgirlboss.com right now, it will actually just give you an opt-in so you can get early bird pricing. Now, in addition to that, you're going to get 2 workbooks. One is the 100-page workbook on just putting together an Author Girl Boss plan. So what you got today is just a small little starter for our conversation today. I have 100 pages of an actual business plan to think through. And then you're also going to get, if you're more of the option A, where we talked about where you are just selling you're selling books, then I have what's called a book business plan, because I really think that if books are your only product, that instead of thinking of yourself, like in addition to the author business plan, thinking of all of those things throughout the year, I think each book needs its own business plan, needs its own strategy, it needs its own marketing plan, it needs its own budget, it needs its own timeline. So each book is like an actual project in and of itself. So we'll talk about that as well. So all of that gets wrapped up into the Author Girl Boss Academy. So let me know. Again, to get also, I would strongly suggest, if you're thinking at all about option B, to go watch the video from this week, the Girl Boss Income Ideas. You're going to get 10 income ideas right away, plus a bonus 11th. And then you'll be on the list to get any future notices about Author Girl Boss Academy. So we're almost out of time. It's almost 1, but I did start late. So let me know if you guys have any questions. But otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow at noon, same time, and Pacific Standard Time. And we can answer any questions once you've had some time to think through this and sort of do some research and go through some numbers yourself. Or maybe I did such a fabulous job of explaining, you won't have any questions, but I doubt it. All right. Okay, so if you had to step away or something happened, I will, as soon as this video renders in like 10 minutes, I will download it and upload it over to Savvy, and you can grab it over there. All right, I hope everyone's having a fabulous weekend, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.